No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
A sleepy 40 minutes turned into a caffeine-fueled final 20. The Winnipeg Jets pulling off the 4-2 victory in upstate New York. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Dave Minuk, with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss the Jets' 4-2 victory, a game that, as I said in the prelude, was a little sleepy to start and then gradually got better as the game went on, leading to a very entertaining final 20 minutes. Gentlemen, good to see you both on this Thursday night. Ezzy, glad to see you got the computer up and running successfully.
What's up, boys? Yeah, I had a little bit of an issue to start off, but yeah, I would agree with Drew. It was sluggish, I would say, for big parts of that game, especially the second period was not pretty at all. But you got to love that entertaining third period, and there were maybe a few too many chances, and it looked like Jeff Skinner might have beat Connor Hellebuyck, but he did the old snow angel or whatever you want to call it. It was an incredible save. So yeah, look, they needed these 2 points. They needed the clean 2 points because the game against Detroit, even though it was also entertaining, I mean, defensively it was as chaotic as it gets. So you've got Pittsburgh coming up tomorrow. You're not going to have that much time to celebrate it in Buffalo. But Hellebuyck deserves a big part of that win. And obviously Ehlers, Connor, Dubois, that line was fantastic tonight. And Josh Morrissey gets back on the board.
Exactly. You're right. Connor Hellebuyck with the bounce back effort tonight, Dave. It was an uncharacteristic performance by him Tuesday in Detroit, of course. And usually when Connor Hellebuyck has one bad game, he doesn't make it 2 games in a row. And tonight he was certainly the reason, in my estimation, that the Jets ended up collecting the 2 points for the victory.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And look, Connor Hellebuyck, you knew we weren't sure, of course, because the Jets have a tough game in Pittsburgh tomorrow night, but we weren't sure how the goalie rotation would be. But you knew after having a less than Hellebuckian effort on Tuesday that he'd want to be back in the net for an opportunity to redeem himself, and he did that. And he had plenty of opportunities in this game to stop some grade A chances by those Sabres. And look, that's the number one scoring team in the NHL right now, the Buffalo Sabres. Their goal differential coming into the game was plus 17. They allow a lot of goals at 135, but they, have 100. I think they had 152 goals coming into this game. So, I mean, Buffalo scores a lot. Tage Thompson scores a lot. The Buffalo Sabres are, a high scoring team. And this game was a 1-0 game for quite a while. And you weren't sure what you were to get with this Jets club. And there were obviously some lineup changes, which we weren't certain of. David Gustafsson goes on IR now to make way for Saku Maenalainen, who came off of IR, and he's dealing with an upper body injury as per Rick Bowness in advance of the game, or maybe it's Jamie Thomas starting to get, and Ville Heinola took warm-up skate, but he's still dealing with the illness. So, and there was no one he was expected to come in for anyways, because that's what Rick Bowness had said in the morning media availability, right? So Kevin Stenlund comes back in after missing the last game due to illness. And you got Saku Maenalainen now playing his first game since that Blues game feels like quite a while ago. So and of course the Jets didn't skate yesterday after the game in Detroit. They took yesterday as a day off. So
doesn't it seem like there's been that illness going through the Jets dressing room for like the last 6 weeks?
Well, because this is the second round of it. They had that big
right.
sort of deal that they dealt with, and then I think like the night Scheifele had the hat trick, he was dealing with this illness. And Pierre-Luc Dubois was dealing with this illness, and now it seems like it's filtered down. But of course, Gustafsson, not an illness; it's an upper body injury. So they've
we're not infectious disease experts, but we'll take a look.
Exactly right. But in any event, yes, the Jets going through some struggles, health-wise, illness-wise, injury-wise to David Gustafsson, which is the reason why he's partly out of the lineup as well. But they fight through it, and they fight through the adversity, against a difficult opponent. People look at Buffalo's record. And they might think, this isn't a very good hockey team. Well, if you watch that game tonight, that Buffalo Sabres team has got a fair bit of talent, and I suspect they're going to be in it right towards to the end of the year, given the way they perform. There's a lot of talent up front there. They're getting some decent goaltending. They obviously give up a lot, but you can't talk about tonight's game without talking about the penalty killing effort by the Winnipeg Jets, because this was the second best power play in the NHL. The Buffalo Sabres unit is, and the Jets, who have a very good penalty kill themselves, were more than equal to the challenge, making the Sabres go 0 for 5 with the man advantage during tonight's game, Ezzy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was a huge reason why they won. And like Blake Wheeler's penalty, you definitely don't like. Adam Lowry, I agree with Dave. We were talking about that while we were watching the game here. Like, I think the Lowry penalty, I think it was on Yoki Haru, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. That he was called for elbowing. Mm-hmm. I don't know how that was elbowing. If anything, that would have been like interference or something like that. But look, they took too many penalties in this game. It was a little bit uncharacteristic. But you're right. I mean, the Sabres have one of the best power plays in the league. Tage Thompson's shot was on display. I mean, Rasmus Dahlin, guys, nobody would be surprised if he's going to be a Norris Trophy finalist or Norris Trophy winner one day, right? Like, he's incredible. Right. And how big does Owen Power look on the ice as well, right? Like, he's 6'5", 6'6", but I was saying, like, sometimes out there he looked like he was 7 feet tall. So Owen Power was his skill and skating was on display. But you're right. I mean, this was. The Jets were giving the Sabres opportunities in this game. And Dave mentioned Kevin Stenlund. I thought he was incredible on the penalty kill. And so was Saku Manalainen, right? Not the easiest position to, be put into, right? Like, how many games did Manalainen miss, guys? 15, 16 games? It's pretty crazy, actually, that he doesn't feel like he missed that many games, but we know how many games there were in the month of December, right? So the special teams were really good, led by Connor Hellebuck. And I think, you can take that into the next game against Pittsburgh and feel good about that. But, there were large chunks of this game similar to the game against Detroit and similar to some of the games, in the 5-game winning streak where, the Jets were being badly outshot, badly outplayed, but they managed to, get timely goal scoring. And there was no more timely goal scoring than, Kyle Connor when it was going back and forth, as Drew mentioned, right? Like, there's a lot of similarities between Buffalo and Detroit, if you think about it. Like, these teams are on the verge, I think, of being really good teams, but they're still trying to figure out with all the young talent they have on the ice. So there's no doubt the penalty kill was, A+ tonight.
Certainly, that will be something Rick Bowness will be happy to see, because if the Jets had only been average on the penalty kill, well, we know that this result would have been different than it was. I mean, this isn't a great win for the Jets. It's a great result. You're happy with the result, but you're not happy with the game. It's closer to what you want your game to look like than it was on Tuesday, because Tuesday was such a gong show against the Red Wings that you basically, the coaching staff won't, but everyone in the Jets dressing room know how bad Tuesday was in terms of how their structure needs to be. Today wasn't much better, but it was a little bit better. It was closer to how they want it to be. But again, they're playing against a little bit of some run and gun teams, and it's hard to not fall into the trap of run and gun, Dave. It took 40 minutes for it to get to that point, because both teams were sort of not sloppy. I don't think sloppy would be the right word. They were just maybe fighting the puck a little bit, through the first.
I think sloppy is the right word, Drew. I mean, I don't know if the whole period, the first couple periods, but it definitely wasn't beautiful hockey. I'll put it that way. And you're right. It didn't really open up until the third period. And I think maybe part of that had to do with, as we talked about, some of the guys that are coming back into the lineup, Stenlund, Manalainen, first game of a back-to-back, you're coming off of that emotional roller coaster game in the Motor City, right? So whatever you want to call it, it wasn't a very good first couple periods for the Jets.
No, but it's a result is a result. And why don't we get into it in the Betway game recap? Not as many goals as we've had the last couple games, but the Betway game recap undoubtedly will still be fun. And it is brought to you by Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is the sports betting app that puts you, the customer, at the forefront, with a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for? Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Dave, say along with me, please play responsibly. The Jets open the scoring. This is what they wanted to do when you're on the road, playing against a team like the Buffalo Sabres that can get some goals behind your goalie more often than not. The Jets open the scoring at the 6:35 mark. of the first period. Dylan Samberg, good for him. He wasn't sure he was going to be in the lineup a couple days ago. This Ville Heinola illness is it looks like it might be what it's keeping Samberg in the lineup, or what kept Samberg in the lineup at the very least. His second of the year, assist to Nate Schmidt, and it's put the puck on net. Good things are going to happen. Win a face-off with the Jets do after the Sabres ice the puck. The Jets get the face-off. Samberg goes down the, to the right of the Sabres goalie, the right side of the boards. He fires it on net, and with a lot of traffic in front, Blake Wheeler providing a screen, he gets the Jets the early 1-0 lead, Dave.
Yeah, and it's critical because we talk about starts for this Winnipeg Jets club, and it was something that was kind of a talking point in the media availability with Rick Bowness earlier today, and it's been a fact of life for Winnipeg is that they haven't started on time very often in the last month, and you can say that it's been a situation with the lineup, but regardless, it is the reality of their situation. They've relied on Connor Hellebuyck to be excellent, and as a result, the other teams possess the puck and they haven't. And so when you can get a lead like that, and you get, we're still not sure why, as per Mike McIntyre, Mark Scheifele picked up that puck of Dylan Samberg's because it was his third NHL goal, and it was his
second of the season.
So I'm not entirely certain what happened there, as he's deep in thought or he's frozen, but I'm not sure. It looks like maybe I'm going to guess he's frozen.
I think frozen.
I'm going to guess,
or maybe he's a wax statue. Maybe we finally have accomplished. We've made a wax figurine out of Ginsburg. That could be fun, also.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not sure because we're both on the same Wi-Fi. As he might end up beside me, folks, just in case. So we might have to pull up actually, that'll be good. If he has a problem with his computer, you just pull up a chair beside me, and we can do the show together. That's all good. I'll make room for the big man. But there he goes.
There he goes.
Well, he's going to restart. Okay. Anywho. So look, it's big for Dylan Samberg because you're right, Drew. I mean, he's got some uncertainty in his game, and look, he made a critical save for the Winnipeg Jets on towards the end of the game, which led to the Kyle Connor goal. But
and the block shot on the penalty kill where you saw him shaking.
Yeah,
he was
that's right.
The warrior cliche, which is admittedly overused, but he was getting his body into the game today. He was in the game. He was involved. He was active both on the defensive side and getting his body in the way. And then for a guy like Samberg, it's got to feel good to get a goal like this, to be rewarded with a goal like this. It's not the prettiest, but it's effective. I mean, Dylan Samberg's not going to score pretty goals. That's not his game. That's not what you expect of him. He's not Josh Morrissey-esque out there on the blue line, right, with the dipsy and the doodling. But you do what's right. And you put yourself in a position to succeed, and he opens the scoring by simply doing that and then getting a shot through traffic, and there was a lot of traffic in front of the Sabres goaltender there.
And that's one thing we talk about constantly is the need to take away the eyes of the netminder, and we got to give credit to Blake Wheeler because that's exactly what he did, and that goal goes in because Blake Wheeler is using his full height to block the netminder and really create chaos in front of the net. And so look, if you don't have that screen, you probably don't have that goal, and you don't have that 1-0 lead. So it's a good play all around from that Jets club.
Yeah, no question about it. Just a quick update because I'm sure people were wondering.
It's funny. I assumed you'd be on this, Drew, so I didn't want to jump in. But go ahead.
Okay, assuming we're talking about the same thing. Cole Perfetti, the reason for his ice time tonight, another one of those Winnipeg Jets players who's under the weather, suffering from the flu. Same thing with Morgan Barron. That's why Morgan Barron was a late scratch in tonight's game because we did not expect to see Saku Manalainen. Certainly not tonight, maybe tomorrow. But Barron obviously has the flu. Cole Perfetti playing ill, which explains why he was, I think, about 8.5 minutes of ice time.
Well, it made sense. It makes sense, when you think about it, given the fact that he didn't look good on that 2-on-1. Yeah. He also didn't look good on a few instances where the puck was put up to him, and I'm like, why? Like, Perfetti is not going to be confused for Nikolai Ehlers. He's not fast, but he was just not moving, and he had an opportunity to create a 2-on-1. He just wasn't moving fast and ended up making it a 2-on-2. And I was just like, well, what's going on? Like, he just doesn't seem like he is skating optimally. And so that explains it a bit.
Exactly. He actually only played 9 minutes and 37 seconds, but under the weather, Cole Perfetti, and that explains a lot of the line juggling that you sort of saw there late in the game with Manalainen jumping up to play with Scheifele and with Wheeler. So there was 1-0 for the Winnipeg Jets after 20 minutes. Buffalo ties it up at the 12:02 mark of the second period. With Victor Olofsson getting his 16th of the year, also known as Victor Golofsson, Casey Middlestat and Henry Jokiharju getting the assist on this goal. It comes shortly after Adam Lowry's penalty expires, but the Jets are still sort of scrambling, Dave. They're still running around a little bit in their own zone, and the Sabres take advantage of it. Casey Middlestat goes low to high. Middlestat takes the puck below the Jets goal line. He finds Olofsson, who's coming in from high up in the zone, and he gets into a prime scoring opportunity. Snipes it past Blake Wheeler. Snipes it past Connor Hellebuck to tie the game up at 1.
Yeah, I mean it's an unfortunate situation for the Jets because they've just done another good job of killing the penalty, and
the penalty that really wasn't a penalty, on top of things. This
to Adam Lowry,
Lowry elbowing.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we call insult to injury because I mean it wasn't, but it kind of still was because of course it throws the lineup into a little bit of chaos as you said, Drew. They're trying to scramble and adjust based on the fact that the kill just ended. And look, you could sense that it was coming. You could sense that the Sabres were getting ready for that opportunity. The Jets were giving up a lot of grade A's, and it's just a path that nobody takes him. I mean, it's right up the middle, and he finds the back of the net. Oh, as is almost back in. So we're getting ready to head him back to the stream. There we go. As is no longer looking stoic. He's shaking his head. He's ready to get going. As we're discussing that first Sabres goal by Buffalo that tied the game 1-1. So you want to get into it? Do you want to do it? Because I just yapped about the first one.
All I know is we gave Drew a hard time about his computer, and I feel like karma is a what, and I feel like now I'm the one that's struggling with my computer because I know it's not the Wi-Fi connection, Dave, because I do almost every show here at your house, and your Wi-Fi is crystal clear. So yeah.
For the record, I solved my problem by buying a new computer. I just want to throw that out there, Ezzy. I reached deep into the millions that I usually use on parking in order to buy a new computer so that I can come through as crystal clear for you. Good
Drew,
folks.
you might have to buy me a new computer because I'm not sure what's going on with this. It just turns off randomly, right? So I mean, this MacBook is probably 4 or 5 years old. And we've done a lot of illegal curve activity on this computer. There's been quite a few Diet Coke spilled on the keyboard. So I think I think it's getting to the point where it's time to go to the Apple store. But let's. I guess you guys broke.
We were talking about the Sabres tying goal, the Olofsson goal, as at the 12:02 mark of the second period, going low to high. Missed Casey Middlestat with the pass from below the goal line, cutting and finding Olofsson, who's cutting into the middle. Yeah,
it's almost like with the exception of the Kyle Connor goal and obviously the empty netter, like that was what this game was, right? It was a high to low shots with some traffic in front of the net. I remember before that because that was 10 seconds after Adam Lowry's penalty ended. Exactly. And Rasmus Dahlin had a really good chance on the power play. And then who was it on the rebound? Was it Jeff Skinner on the rebound? I forget who had a really good chance. But yeah, I mean, so essentially this kind of is a power play goal because they maintained possession, during that whole, transition. So Lowry comes back into the ice. He's not able to, get fully back into the player set the way he would like. And yeah, Victor Olofsson, look at what did he score in his rookie year, guys? 35 goals. This is a guy that can score goals. And everybody's been talking about Tage Thompson, but Victor Olofsson's having a good year. I think that was his 16th goal or something like that. So I think you felt in that first period, you felt like the way the Sabres were, moving the puck around on the power play, you got the feeling that they were going to tie this game up.
It's weird, Ezzy. Nobody in the chat believes that it's Diet Coke that's causing your computer to have technical difficulties. I wonder what they think it is, but let's not get into that.
I have no idea.
No idea whatsoever.
I don't know what people think it is. What do people think it is? I mean, I don't look at any of that type of stuff.
Good evening to everybody just joining us. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. We're going through the goals as part of the Betway game recap. The Jets 4-2 victory in upstate New York against the Buffalo Sabres. Didn't take the Jets long to retake the lead after the Sabres tied it up. There's your Diet Coke right there. Thank God that's what you're showing us. Josh Morrissey at the 14-11.
There's not going to be a Jeffrey Toobin moment, Drew. You don't have nothing to worry about.
And the and a grateful audience says thank you for that. 2 minutes and 9 seconds after Buffalo tied the game, the Jets retake the lead. You can't keep a good man down for long. Josh Morrissey's a good man. He gets his 8th of the year assist to Nikolai Ehlers and Dylan DeMello. It's amazing how much attention Nikolai Ehlers attracts, and that's what you see here. All eyes on Ehlers, and he makes a very nifty pass, but one we've seen him make before, to Morrissey. Morrissey gets the time and the space, and he lets it go top shelf to give the Jets the 2-1 lead, Dave.
Yeah, and it's funny because that's what I noticed about that goal immediately, Drew, was the fact that Ehlers draws 2 Sabres right to him, and it's crazy because he's not in a scoring area. He's at the blue line, so you're not really concerned. You really didn't need to double him up, and yet it just goes to show you how much attention that he does draw. And so he makes a beautiful pass, and the screen for on this goal wasn't as good as the Wheeler screen. I think it was Dubois who was in front of the net, but regardless, the Jets are up to 25 goals from their back end, right? And that's the whole point. That's what you need. What Rick Bowness talked about. They've already got more goals from their back end this year than they had all of last season. So that's significant. And Josh Morrissey, we joked about it, what did the Jets score? 13 goals, 13 goals over the last 2 games. And yet he didn't have a single point, a goal or an assist. So maybe there was a new, it was going to go like this for Josh Morrissey, but he showed that he's ready to go. It was funny because just before he scored that goal, Scott Arniel and him were shown on the bench having a little chit chat. So you wondered what associate coach Scott Arniel was thinking. I would suggest that he was probably saying shoot. He's like, the crowd at home is probably saying shoot. So maybe he listened to his coach and
you should be the associate coach for the Jets then, if that's all it takes. Just having to yell shoot.
That's all I would say. Well, our friend Scott Billick, when I tweeted that, said score. So maybe that's what he said. I'm not sure.
I feel like, Drew, every single hockey parent, that's what when we were all playing minor hockey growing up, I feel like that's what every single parent screamed when you had a power play and you weren't getting these shots on net. Like you could hear at least like 4 or 5 parents every time.
My dad used to scream. My dad used to holler at me, 6'4", 6'4", because he wanted me to play as if I was 6'4". Despite the fact I had next to no skill to begin with, he wanted me to be out there as if I was, as if I was a big-bodied power forward.
That's not true, Drew. I've seen you on the ice. You do have skill, and I like that Sheldon was saying that. Look, Sheldon's a motivator. He was trying to motivate you, right? Like he was trying to say, you don't have to be the biggest guy on the ice, but you have to act like you're the biggest guy on the ice. So I like that.
It's true. I mean, he could have maybe paid for some skating lessons. That would have helped a little bit more than hollering 6'4" at me. But what's done is done in that case. And I guess that's not the only reason why my hockey career fizzled out very quickly.
I just wanted to say one thing on that goal. Like you mentioned, nifty pass. Like Ehlers makes that look easy. And the thing is, like, what is he up to? 6 or 7 or 8 points since he's returned. This is his 4th game, I believe. Like that line, and I know, we were talking about it last post game. We talked about it on the Saturday morning show. Like, and he's only going to get better. So that pass was really incredible, and he made it look easy. And obviously, it was Dubois who had the good screen in front of the net. But like again, the Jets, this was not an A game. Like I would say, this was probably their B game tonight. The third was good. We talked about that. The third was clearly the Jets' best period, but. Sometimes that's all you need. And Josh Morrissey right now, like he has that shot first mentality, right? And the thing with that type of goal is like that wasn't even close to Josh Morrissey's best shot, right? No. Like that was just putting the puck in it. Like that was all location, right? He knew he had traffic in front of the net. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, it appeared that he didn't even really see it. Or if he didn't see it, he didn't see much of it because of the way he reacted. So again, like, just that line, performing well because you think about it, right? Like the Scheifele, Wheeler, Perfetti line, guys, like they didn't have it tonight. Like this was not a great game for them. I'm not saying that they were awful out there, but really much of the offense was coming from Dubois, Connor, and Ehlers in the back end.
Well, we were talking about, I don't know if you heard us when you were restarting your computer.
No, I was actually swearing at my computer, Drew. I didn't hear anything.
We were saying Perfetti, the reason Perfetti looked, didn't play a lot, only played 9 minutes, and the reason why he didn't look great out there, Rick Bowness said that Perfetti is another one of those Jets players who's dealing with the flu, who's under the weather. Okay, so that explains a lot.
We'll give Cole the benefit of the doubt, because as you mentioned, Drew, I'm with you. I mean, this is going on at least a couple weeks, right? Like, it almost feels like they were dealing with this a little bit, right after the holiday break. So, We'll give Cole Perfetti a little bit of a break, and again, we don't know how many other guys are dealing with an illness, because as we know, some of these guys, if basically they're not dead, they'll go out on the ice and play, right? So obviously, Ville Heinola, he was unable to play, but I wouldn't be surprised if half the team or something like that has the illness right now.
Well, we know obviously that Perfetti does, that Heinola does, that Morgan Barron does, because that's why Barron was a scratch tonight. So not an optimal time for the Jets to be going back to back tomorrow against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So they'll have, and it's a very busy stretch from now. They come back. Remember they got 5 and 7 nights basically.
Well, the Jets are essentially in the Eastern Conference, Drew. They, aside from Arizona, it's all teams in the Eastern Conference that they're playing. Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal next week, and then this week Detroit, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and then they had Tampa Bay earlier.
That's right. It's been a heavy East stretch. I still don't know why they come home for one game and then go back out East again. It
literally makes no sense.
Yeah, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. But not an optimal time for the Jets on the schedule to be dealing with an illness. Very few days off, of course, but that's the truth for most any team. The Jets have to get to that sort of. I think it's the first 2 weeks of February where the schedules, they have the bye week and then the All-Star, and the schedule really loosens up for that 2 week period, the first couple of weeks of February. That's when I get away from you guys as well. So I'm looking forward to that as we go on here.
Wherever you go, Drew, we're going to follow you.
I don't doubt that for a second.
I might be in Vegas. So I'll see you bozos later.
Oh boy, Dave M going to tear it up at Vegas. Is Hakkasan still around? What club are you going to hit there, Mr. Dave?
Well, we'll see.
No, you don't.
It won't be the Adele. Let's put it this way,
Dave. People miss you in Vegas.
I'll tell you this: it will not be the Adele concert.
What's wrong with Adele?
Have you seen how much?
With Dave, I actually enjoy Adele.
$2,500 a ticket, I think.
No. Yeah, it's like, are you kidding? It's like $1,500 a ticket. Yeah, it's like $1,500 a ticket.
Okay, just as an aside, I don't know. Did anybody go to the Burton Cummings theater for New Year's Eve? Did you see how much those tickets were?
I don't even know what was going on.
What was it, Burton Cummings?
Burton Cummings performed at the Burton Cummings Theater. Tickets were $330.
Did you go?
No.
But he's at least a Winnipeg legend.
I was on my way back from Mexico and then did the New Year's Eve postgame show, Drew.
Right.
I actually it was physically impossible for me to be at that concert.
Well, I'm going to Vegas at the end of March.
Whoa, and well.
Thank you. And that's and Taylor Swift is playing Allegiant Stadium.
Whoa, Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
is that where the Raiders play, Drew?
That's where the Raiders play. Me and Tay are very tight, and I think the tickets.
Hold on. What is that? What they call her?
I have no idea. I mean, I just made it up as a nickname. I'm sure that somebody calls her Tay, but certainly isn't me. But
Drew, when he's singing her music, go on.
Yeah.
Okay, Dre, continue.
Most of her breakup songs are about my relationship with her.
Drew, you truly are my anti-hero. So go on.
I was going to say tickets for her on the secondary market are again $3,000, $4,000.
Yeah, it's insane. One of my buddies jokingly said it was like they were tickets for like $9,000. I was like, that's. Yeah.
Do you enjoy Taylor Swift, Drew? Like if she comes on, will you bop your head to some of her music?
If tickets were more affordable, I would go because everyone knows her music and knows her songs because you can't avoid them, and two, I'm sure any sort of stadium show is worth it just for going for the spectacle.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So I would go to see her, but I'm not about to be paying thousands upon thousands of dollars to see her. I'm not.
Drew's by the way, little known fact: Drew's last stadium show was U2 with yours truly.
Who would pay $1,000 or thousands of dollars to see anybody? I wouldn't even pay that much to see like a band that I've always wanted to see.
Yeah,
that's just absurd.
That's not true, Dave. That is not true.
It wasn't mine, for the record. My last one was Guns N' Roses, but I just wasn't sure if yours was when we went.
I think I was supposed to go to that concert, and you took my ticket with Richie, didn't you? I was sick. I was supposed to go to Gunners.
No. And and Axl Rose was busy complaining that it was too cold in Winnipeg.
I went to Beyonce and Jay-Z with my wife at the new stadium. So.
All right. There you go.
I couldn't remember if that was a true statement or not, but probably my last stadium show at the old stadium would have been U2 with you. We were behind the stage.
Okay, Bootylicious. Let's get back to the hockey
here. So it's 2-1 for the Jets after 40 minutes. Buffalo ties it up early in the third period at the 2-minute and 50-second mark. Tyson Jost, his fourth of the year, assist of Victor Olofsson and Rasmus Dahlin. This seems like a nothing play until Scheifele's dump in, ricochets off the linesman and goes back up the ice towards the Jets zone. And then it's a bit of a scramble play, and the Jets are unable to scramble properly. It seemed like it was a dead play. Nothing was going to happen. A bad bounce that happens, and the Buffalo Sabres are rewarded by tying the game up early in the third period, Ezzy.
Yeah, Tyson Jost, obviously, fell out of favor there in Colorado, but he's found a nice home in Buffalo. Like, Jost is having a pretty good resurgence, if you want to call it that. But yeah, it starts off obviously with the puck hitting the linesman there, but just good work by the Sabres, and again, a nice little spinorama pass to Tyson Jost, and just a nice goal. But again, like in this game, at that point in the game, it was early in the third period, the Sabres were pushing. And, you knew that they were going to try to equalize. They had lost 2 games in a row. You mentioned earlier, they're chasing, I believe it's the Penguins, if I'm not mistaken, who have the second wild card spot, or they're one of the teams that are ahead of them. I think they're 6 points out of a wild card spot right now. So, yeah, just a nice little individual play. And Tyson Jost finished it off. And, at that point, it looked like, the Sabres were going to maybe have a little bit more of the momentum, but it was actually the opposite. That really fired the Jets up, I thought. But yeah, on that goal, I mean, I think it was just, again, a little bit of a loose coverage. I think Scheifele, from what I remember, he was a little bit caught in no man's land. It was just the Jets were backing up a little bit too much, and nobody picked up Tyson Jost. I think it's as easy as that.
Yeah, it's
simple as that. Sorry.
Yeah, sometimes it isn't especially complicated. The Jets were just sort of caught scrambling around there where they thought that
Olofsson. Sorry, Drew. It was Olofsson that passed it to Jost, right? Victor Olofsson?
Yeah, Olofsson had the primary assist, and Dahlin had the secondary.
That was a nice little pass to Tyson Jost, but nobody picked Jost up.
There's a lot of talent on that Buffalo team. There's a lot of talent up front there. There's a lot of talent on the back end. And if the next decade of your team is anchored by Dahlin and Owen Power, you're going to have a pretty good back end there. Which, of course, the Sabres, this is what you get for being such a bad team for so very long, over and over and over again. It seems like the rebuild is finally in the right trajectory.
Yeah.
It should have been in this trajectory when they were able to get Jack Eichel, but water under the bridge.
Alex
there.
Tuck too, Drew. Alex Tuck is a player I've always liked, going back to his Minnesota days. So it's like they're not just like, that's the thing, right? Like when they had Jack Eichel, you were top heavy, but you actually turned that into a nice return. You've got the higher draft picks, right? Owen Power, first overall, Rasmus Dahlin, first overall. Like once they surround these guys, Peyton Krebs was another guy we haven't really talked about. Like if there's one team, and you guys know I'm a Devils fan, if there's one team, I'm not a fan of the Sabres. I'm a fan of them, I guess, this year in the sense that they're an underdog. But wouldn't it be fun to see the Sabres, in the first round against Buffalo? Like that would be old school.
I'd love to see the Sabres
in the
first round against
Wales
Buffalo.
division, right? Wales, I think, or the Wales Conference. What was the division? Adams.
He doesn't even know what he just said, Dave.
No.
Adams division.
I meant to say Sabres versus Devils, but
Dave,
somehow
wasn't it Adams division with the?
Yeah, no, but you said Sabres versus Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm getting excited here. Sorry.
That's part of the problem with the computer is when you get excited. We talked about that already.
Yeah, it's true. I should just step away from the computer when I get too excited and just go for I think there's like this thing called a walk that people do. Maybe I should just start doing that.
You could use a walk. It wouldn't hurt you every now and then. A nice evening constitutional. I think that would be good for everybody involved. The Jets retake the lead after some chaos, some back and forth, where Buffalo looked like they were on the verge of taking the lead for the first time this game. Instead, it's Nikolai Ehlers sending Kyle Connor in on a breakaway from basically before the red line. Connor had so much time on that breakaway, and I mean, I don't know. You folks know I'm a betting man, but I don't know anybody who was going to bet against Kyle Connor on a breakaway with that much time, and he made no mistake, absolutely deking the Jets into a 3-2 lead at the 7:19 mark of the third period, Dave.
Well, first of all, you got to give credit to Dylan Sandberg and Josh Morrissey, because I mean there was a lot of good work, at the Jets net, because Josh Morrissey makes the play where his stick basically is down and prevents the Sabres from sliding the puck into the Jets net, and then Sandberg also made a nice play. So there are a couple of nice instances of the defense bailing the Jets out a little bit, and then of course the puck gets turned around, and they get going towards the Sabres. And look, nobody is betting against Kyle Connor when he has that kind of time and space and is feeling good about himself. That's 8 games now with points. I think it's 6 goals, 7 assists, or 7 goals, 6 assists during those 8 games. So he's on fire, continuing to do what he does, night in, night out. I forgot to mention that Nikolai Ehlers had hit his 200th assist the last game. So now he's at 202 in terms of assists. Kyle Connor, 199 goals. He's 1 away from 200, and he's, I think, 4 or 5 assists away from 200 as well. So
it's going to be Mr. Even Steven, right, David? He's going to be 200. He's going to be part of the 400 club. He's going to be 200, 200, 400.
Yeah, you're right. As your math is checking out as far as I can tell. And look, it's just a huge momentum turn because you're right, Drew. It opened up like high danger chances at 5-on-5. I believe in that third period were 7-4 in favor of Winnipeg. But, you know, the Sabres did have some very good chances. Connor Hellebuck had to be good. His defense stepped up. I thought they were better overall. Obviously, they gave up some chances, but there was a lot more flow to that period. There was a lot more openness and a lot more opportunities. Winnipeg seemed to kind of take advantage of the opportunities they were given, and that was a big one and created by Nikolai Ehlers' vision, which, again, you know, it's funny how we talked about Nikolai Ehlers and how quickly he's returned to form, because you can see Blake Wheeler still
and quietly, like it's not like the Nikolai Ehlers like goals off of transition or him ripping a shot top corner, like that type of stuff. It's those little subtle passes. And the thing with that is you'd say, okay, well, Kyle Connor was, as Drew mentioned, he was all alone at center ice, right? But Ehlers puts it in the perfect spot. Like, he makes these little passes look easy, but trust me, they're not easy. And, you know, Ukko-Pekka Lakonen's jockstrap was on the ice after that move. I mean, that was just ridiculous. Like, you know, there's a lot of talk. The 14-year-old girl from Slovakia pulled off the Michigan at the women's U18s.
Yes.
But, I mean, that was Kyle Connor's the original Michigan, University of Michigan, right?
That was an impressive goal, though, in the U18 Women's World Championships. I mean, to be 14 and being able to do that's
incredible.
That is incredible. Absolutely.
And if anybody doesn't like that, you have to just accept the fact. And I know there weren't a lot of people. I feel like you know, John Tortorella, you know, he's taking the iPads off of the bench. Maybe that's something we'll talk about on the Saturday morning show. I don't know if you guys saw that. Like, is he out of his mind? Like, he thinks taking iPads off of the bench is going to have an impact on his team's ability to win or lose. Like, newsflash, Torts, the Flyers suck.
Ezzy throwing down. Hopefully,
Torts. Is somebody going to tell me, like, even like Brandon Bruwicki, of course, from the Big, the Big Show. It was the Big Show, right?
Yeah, it was called the Big Show. I think
the Big Show.
The Skates and Plates podcast.
Skates and Plates podcast. He was on with Hassan Remus on the Winnipeg Sports Talk. Happy birthday to Michael Remus, by the way. He's 22 years old today. Yeah, I mean, Brandon, even who's a huge Flyers fan, I think would tell you that, you know, his team sucks. I mean, look, they don't have Ryan Ellis. They haven't had him all year. I think if they had Ellis, but that defense is pretty putrid, and they don't have a lot of depth. So I think most people would agree, even the Flyers fans, that the Flyers aren't very good.
You know, and we're clearly going on a bit of a tangent now, and this will be something we'll probably discuss more on Saturday. But a lot of links as of late between Ivan Provorov, the Flyers, who's a little bit disgruntled, their defenseman, and some talk that maybe the Jets might be a destination for him.
Our boy Anthony Sanfilippo.
Yes, exactly. Our boy Anthony Sanfilippo, and Anthony is one of our favorites and a good friend of ours. Talked about it previously that the Jets offered Line for Ivan Provorov. 1 for 1.
Really?
Years ago. I remember talking to Anthony about that. Obviously before the trade to Columbus went down, but the Jets organization has been high on Provorov for a long while. He, of course, played his junior hockey in Brandon for the Wheat Kings. So there's some ties and some familiarity to Manitoba. And right now his value is not at a high point. He's a little bit disgruntled. The organization's a little bit disgruntled with him. If you read Elliot Friedman's 32 Thoughts column this week, he touched on it. So you wonder if there's some smoke, if there's some fire there where the Jets might be interested in acquiring a guy like Provorov. But obviously, that's just some food for thought.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say quickly, Drew, that's, something that, I'm sure we're going to discuss on Saturday morning show.
Yeah.
But the only thing with that is, like, I don't know, you guys might disagree, and, people watching in the chat might disagree or listening on the podcast, but, like, to me, the Jets need a shutdown defenseman more so than an offensive defenseman. Like, we just touched on it, right? The Jets have 25 goals from their back end halfway through the season when that already smashes last year's amount, right? Like, to me, that's what the Jets are lacking. I'm not saying that they don't have guys that can play that shutdown role. I'm just saying, like, I don't think Provorov is more of an offensive-minded defenseman. I think you would agree. He can play defense. I mean, that's the position. I'm just saying, I don't like, to me, like, again, I don't think this is going to happen, but like Matthias Ekholm or somebody like that, or a Mackenzie Weegar, who's obviously not going to be traded by Calgary, but that
idea,
like more of a, a bigger kind of physical defensive defenseman who's maybe got a little bit of offensive upside.
If you have the puck on your stick and you can get it out of your zone, that's a pretty good.
I know. I agree with you. I like Provorov. I'm not saying I'm not a fan of Provorov. I'm just saying for the Jets, I don't know if that moves the needle a lot to acquire Provorov. I guess I feel like there's other defensemen out there that would move the needle and make the Jets better as a defensive unit. But again, just my opinion. But Provorov is probably a guy that Chevy has on his radar for sure.
Well, anyways, it's of course going to be something worth keeping an eye on. The trade deadline coming up in about 6-7 weeks' time. So obviously there's going to be plenty of chatter about trades as we get closer and closer to that date in March. It's a Friday this year, if I'm not mistaken, the trade deadline is, which is sort of a bizarre day. I think it's Friday. I think it's Friday, March the 4th, if I'm not wrong. Which is again,
March 3rd.
Is it March 3rd day? Yeah, Friday, March 3rd. That's
March
right.
3rd.
Okay. Yeah, which is again why why do it on a Friday? It's a game. The Jets have a game that night in Edmonton. I checked out earlier. It's just an odd time for the trade deadline to be on a.
It's
on
like
a random
it's like
Friday.
How about you schedule it on any day but Friday? You know what I mean? Like,
it's just odd that it happens on a day where there's probably a decent number of games, and it's like the end of a week. Usually something like that falls on a Monday or a Tuesday. But anyways, it's just another one of those interesting quirks that the NHL loves to throw around. Before we get to the Carson Kuhlman empty netter, not that one's going to take a lot of analysis, the penalty trouble in the third period was certainly an interesting situation. Both teams taking multiple penalties in that very short window of time. First, it was Josh Morrissey taking a slashing penalty, and then it was Alex Tuck taking a hooking penalty, and then it was Blake Wheeler taking a tripping penalty, which resulted in the Sabres having that rare non-overtime 4-on-3 power play situation, which the Jets really, that's the story of the game. The job the Jets did on the penalty kill, because 4-on-3, there is so much time and so much space out there at 4-on-3. I thought the Jets played that to perfection. I thought maybe Buffalo also overhandled the puck a little bit when they had that, but the Jets don't need to apologize for the other team's errors.
No, and you're right. And Wheeler, we talked about, he took a penalty earlier in the game, and that's been an issue for him this year, right? Like I saw some people having a back and forth discussion about it. It's because of the types of penalties he's taken, right? Like it's almost like you could kind of simplify it to, when he's a little bit flat-footed or a little bit out of position, chasing, right? So, look at the penalty kill ended up coming through. Hellebuck was doing Hellebuck type of stuff. And he was making big saves, and he was flopping around, and he was frustrating the Sabres. And there's no doubt that the Sabres could have easily had 3 or 4 goals in this game, but the penalty kill comes through. And as you mentioned, Carson Kuhlman gets his first goal as a Jet. Pretty awesome. The guys were having some fun with him, and you have to move on quickly to Pittsburgh here, and you're going to play a motivated Penguins team who's looking to remain in a playoff spot, right? So. I think you have to kind of just say sometimes, boys, right? Like this wasn't pretty, but the Jets got it done, and they've won 6 of their last 7 games. So you kind of have to keep that in mind that where the Jets are in the standings. I don't know if Dallas is
Dallas lost 2-1 in overtime.
There you go.
So the out of town scoreboard
just gain a point. That's huge, right? You gain a point at this point in the season. Sometimes you have to just say, okay, it wasn't beautiful, but we'll take the point that we gained on Dallas.
Yeah, certainly. And that's exactly what the Jets did. They did gain that 1 point on the Dallas Stars. 4-2 is the final. Carson Kuhlman into an empty net assist to Kyle Connor and Brendan Dillon. I thought the Jets did a very good job when the Sabres pulled the goalie with about 2 minutes to go, Dave, in keeping everything to the outside. There were a couple of icing infractions by the Jets, but they won the faceoffs, or they at least scrambled the faceoffs. Connor Hellebuck made a couple of saves that he needed to make, but the Jets really did a good job in sort of in preventing Buffalo from getting any grade A opportunities when they had the extra man. And then Carson Kuhlman is able to hit the empty net, and I'm sure that feels good for him getting his first as a member of the Winnipeg Jets.
He had a lot of chances in this game, actually. He had a number of good chances to score. And, look, if this can get him going, that's probably a good thing for a Jets club, that they were able to punt the decision of the roster down the road a little bit with being able to put David Gustafsson on IR. But, that's that we don't know how long. It doesn't sound like it's very serious upper body injury. So it's only going to give them about a week in terms of, some time before they'll have to make a decision as to the roster. So what they're going to do in terms of who they put on, who they're going to send down and that sort of thing. Heinola being the easy one. Rick Bowness has not taken the bait on that. Every time he's been offered that or asked that question or offered that as an idea, and he hasn't. He said, "Well, we'll see what happens." And when Rick Bowness says, "We'll see," it means he knows what he's going to do, but he's not going to tell you what he's going to do. But regardless, it wasn't a pretty win for a Jets club. But ultimately, and again, like I said, like it's twofold. One is the idea, again, just putting this into historical context, 27th win coming in game 42 of the season. Last year it was what did I say in my tweet? I think game 60 or something of that nature. So
just for the record, are you going to do that every game, every win from here on? I need to know. I need to know if I need to prepare myself for this.
No. In 2014, the Jets had this record at this point, but in 2017 they had this record at this point.
But I just think it's interesting to look at the context of where they are this year versus where they are last year, and the reality is
night and day, Dave.
Yeah, no, I know, but I just think we're talking months, right? Like they're gaining wins months ahead of when they did it. The point is that even though the team isn't playing optimally and they're relying heavily on Connor Hellebuyck to win them these games, 39 saves on 41 shots for Connor Hellebuyck, huge bounce back game for him. And you knew that that's what he was going to do based on what he does historically after kind of a poor performance based on his kind of what you expect out of him. So you can continue to rely on Connor Hellebuyck. And we've talked about that throughout the course of him being the starter here in Winnipeg, that you don't apologize for having the best goaltender in the NHL. But ultimately, you still have to figure out these problems that you're having in terms of some of the penalties right now you're taking, some of the chances that you're giving up, the slow starts right now. So the Jets they're getting points, they're banking points. That's huge. And the teams around them are losing. So that's also significant for the Jets. But ultimately, you can't necessarily win a series based on this. So that's one of those things that the Jets are going to have to clean up. And you know what, Drew, you mentioned it. They're going to have a little more time. So because they're going to have a little more time, they'll be able to get some practice and they'll be able to start working on these things. And remember, you can see it, right? Cole Perfetti is dealing with the illness. Blake Wheeler's still not 100%, and he missed a lot of time. So anyways, there's some things to like from this Jets club. The penalty kill was excellent. Connor Hellebuyck was excellent. I thought the Dubois line was creating. The Lowry line was pretty good. And remember, it's missing Morgan Barron. I didn't like the Scheifele line so much. And the fourth line was somewhat invisible. But again, you pick up the win. You hope you get a win in Pittsburgh tomorrow, and then you're able to come home. Most likely you don't practice on Saturday, and then you have the Coyotes on Sunday.
The boys need to just pound some cold effects. just take a
well, I think the best
glass full of cold effects. You should be
the best comment from the chat, and I don't know who said it, but it was a good one, was, do the Jets not eat any vegetables? Because they seem to be getting all these illnesses. So maybe they need a box of oranges to prevent
Isn't that how
scurvy.
you get scurvy? Yeah, I was going to say scurvy. Yeah.
You need citrus to prevent scurvy. So yes, you should try to eat get some citrus in your body. That way you won't get scurvy. As there's today's
my kids. We're good with our kids. Our kids always have to have vegetables or fruit with every meal, breakfast, right?
That doesn't apply to the parents.
Well, no, I do as well. Naomi, sometimes she has to shovel salad into my mouth, but actually at Santa Lucia for lunch today we were prepping for Buddy Check for Jesse mental health initiative, and we had little Santa Lucia pizza. It was good. And I actually did have some salad.
Okay, well there you go. Everything you needed to know, and everything you needed to know, and then some.
I had to put a lot of dressing on it, but it was still okay.
As long as it doesn't taste anything like a vegetable, you're fine with it, right? Is that what you're saying? Maybe slather some cheese on that, and you're okay with it all?
Yeah.
There you go, Ezzy. That's the way we love it. Jets win 4-2 in Buffalo, improve to 27-14-1 on the season, 11-8-1 away from the friendly confines of downtown Winnipeg. When we come back, the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment, unique code word, illegal curve merchandise. Don't go anywhere. It's contest time, and some post-game reaction from the Jets dressing room. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. It's a Thursday night. We're live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
Come on, there's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time. Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com. For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com. Welcome back. Thursday night. It's the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg with you. Busy time upcoming for us. Of course, we're on tonight's Illegal Curve post-game show. Same time tomorrow night, 8:45 after the Jets and the Penguins. Saturday morning, 9 a.m., the Illegal Curve hockey show. And then Sunday evening, 8:45 p.m. after the Jets and the Arizona Coyotes in that one-off game back at home before the Jets head out on the road back to Eastern Canada on a 5-game trip that also takes them through Nashville and Philadelphia. So a very busy time period upcoming. Make sure you're following our YouTube channel, subscribe to it, set reminders for everything, and of course also subscribe to the podcast. And we always want to hear your feedback. Leave us your comments on our Apple iTunes page about this fine podcast on this Thursday evening.
Drew, can I jump in here with just one thing? Because I know we want to get to the hardest hitting comment and we want to get to our contest, but just wanted to get something in here because I wanted to bring it up earlier, but somebody had mentioned the possibility of Connor Hellebuck playing again tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Look, I think there's always the chance that he plays tomorrow night, but I would not bet on that just based on the fact that what's coming up and what the Jets have done previously. I know that the Jets have played Hellebuck in back-to-back situations before, but that was my own. I could see you're agreeing with me, but yeah, I told Dave I just don't see that. I don't get the vibe that they're going to play Hellebuck back-to-back here.
He faced 41 shots tonight.
Exactly. Yeah.
He made 39 saves. Many of them were of a very impressive variety. The team is got a very good record. It's not like they're scratching and clawing and desperate for points in a playoff race. Unless David Riddick is under the weather, unless he, and I don't know that he is. I have no reason to believe that he is. Then there's no chance that they're going to go with Hellebuck tomorrow night. It wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. I mean, you played Riddick. When did he play? He played against, was it Vancouver?
Yes.
Last week he played against Vancouver, so he's played relatively recently, 5 days ago. Obviously he didn't play that well against Vancouver, but his third period was better than the first two.
He also had a big gap though, right? He had a big, there was like a 16-day gap or something like that between the games. So it's probably not so bad to get him some back into action and, and hope that he can have a strong effort for you in net. But yeah, I agree. You're not playing Connor Hellebuck tomorrow night. It makes no sense.
It would make no sense.
I mean, you remember, I understand he wants to play every game, and remember the Jets did this last year. We talked about that. And of course, different coaching staff, Wade Flaherty, the only holdover, and he and Connor Hellebuck are the ones who really make the Jets schedule. And Rick Bowness has been on record saying that. So that is something to factor in. But if you remember when it was Eric Comrie was in maybe COVID protocol and they had the Birdman up as the backup and they chose after that back-to-back when the Jets flew in, it was an afternoon game in Pittsburgh, and they still ran with Connor Hellebuck in net. So, they've done it before, but I don't think they're going to do it after the last two games. So they'll give him the rest. They'll get him back in net for the game against Arizona, and then when they head out east.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I'd be absolutely stunned, and
as Frosty Winnipeg just put it, Dave Riddick only played one period in that Vancouver game anyway.
That's very clever, Frosty. That's very funny.
We should expect nothing less from Frosty.
Here's what Rick Bowness had to say about tonight's game. This courtesy of our buddy Mike McIntyre, who's on the road with the Jets. Quote, "We played a whole lot better in Detroit and lost 7-5 than we did tonight. That's the most chances we've given up in a long time. Connor Hellebuck was outstanding. He was the difference maker."
Yeah.
So Rick Bowness, talking about what we all saw with regard to Connor Hellebuck. And far be it from me to criticize the Jets head coach because he knows more than I do, but I didn't think that the Jets played worse than they played against Detroit. I mean, he said that we played a whole lot better in Detroit. I didn't fully see that, but obviously he sees the game through a different lens than I do, and maybe he was just pumping up Connor Hellebuck a little bit there, but I thought the Jets game in Detroit was maybe offensively better, but defensively, I don't know that it was much better than it was tonight. I think just a couple not great efforts defensively, and the Jets need to sort of solve that Rubik's Cube before it gets too far down the road of becoming a pattern that this is how they play defensively. But in any event, there's the.
And luckily, they have a few teams that are struggling quite a bit next week, right? In Montreal and Ottawa, obviously Toronto. Even though they lost to Nashville, they're a top Eastern Conference team. But I think there's something to be said for all of this movement in and out of the lineup. That's part of it. And you mentioned it. I mean, there's no doubt that this flu bug or whatever is going around is directly affecting the team. So sometimes you have to just say, again, the Jets, they've had some pretty ugly games, but they've still won 6 of their last 7, and they're 1 point out of first in the Central and not that far off Vegas for the Western Conference lead, right? So I think the Jets will be okay.
Before we get to the tough duck hardest hitting comment and the illegal curve the unique code word for the illegal curve merchandise contest, just a quick comment from one or both of you guys regarding Kevin Cheveldayoff's mid-season press availability, where as per usual he says nothing, but he takes 1,000 words to say nothing.
I didn't catch it, Drew, so I can't really comment. I haven't had the chance to.
It's the same one that he gave last year, the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before.
Yeah. You know what, though? I mean, like, it's kind of like, I think it's Mike Weber and Scotty Billick, if I'm not mistaken. Those are the three traveling journalists right now.
Yeah.
And I think they were all speaking to Chevy. And so, I mean, they all know that, they're not going to get, the most, let's say, insightful answers, right? But look, I think everybody knows Chevy's track record, right? Like the Paul Stastny trade, we know how that worked out. He's been good on the waiver wire, but I think, for me, so again, I haven't listened to it, but I'm sure, as you mentioned, Drew, it's not going to, be a mind-blowing interview. But it's going to be really interesting to see because, in the Eastern Conference, there's a lot of teams that are, poised to go on a nice Stanley Cup run, right? Like whether it's the Carolina Hurricanes, the Boston Bruins, maybe the Tampa Bay Lightning again. But you look at the West, it is wide open. And, Drew mentioned this on the Saturday show. I agree with him. Like, how much better are the Golden Knights than the Jets? I mean, right now, I don't think they're that much better. And if the Jets are able to acquire, let's say a Sam Reinhart or whoever, right? Reinhart is a guy that I saw people talking about. He'd be a good player. I suggested maybe like a Sean Monahan could be a guy that the Jets go after. But like, regardless, I mean, I think, Chevy is going to make a move. I think we would all be shocked if he doesn't make some type of move prior to the trade deadline. It's just hard to know. Is he going to?
It's going to be 17-18 all over again. I was reading an article the other day. I don't remember what I was reading actually, but Derek Brassard was featured heavily. I'll tell you what, it was on Daily Faceoff. They were talking about. There was an article about teams that can act as third parties to retain salary cap space, and it referenced because that the first team to do it to sort of make it a three-way deal was Derek Brassard. Remember Derek Brassard? Vegas got involved to prevent the Jets from getting Derek Brassard. Right. The Jets ended up with Paul Stastny, so it worked out okay for them. But if you remember, Derek Brassard seemed like he was on his way to Winnipeg, and then Vegas swooped in and prevented that from happening. And so that's it's going to be very similar where you're going to see, I think, probably Dallas, Vegas, the Jets, and then who knows about
Colorado. You got to think Colorado's going to,
at some point in time, you expect them to make their move, but they haven't made it yet. And I know that time's not running out, but you know how difficult it is to gain points in this league and how difficult it is to leapfrog teams in this
there's
league.
No doubt, Drew, that they're in danger of missing the playoffs. I don't think that they will, but you look at
they were down 1-0 to Chicago. I think they've tied it
Seattle.
up.
What have they won 7 in a row now?
It's Seattle beat Boston tonight.
So there's other teams, right? Like nobody's like, you could say, okay, like Edmonton is a team that's going to fall off, or Calgary or whatever. But the point is, like, the Avalanche right now they're more in the wild card discussion as opposed to the Central Division title discussion, right? Like, I don't think that there's any chance that they're going to finish like top 2 or 3 in the Central. They
would have to go on an extended run. I mean,
and right now, by the way, Farnsey in the chat is saying they're losing 3-2 to Chicago.
They are 3-2. Right. It's 3-2 Chicago with less than 6 minutes to play in the third.
Juggernaut Blackhawks.
Well, that's the type of game, though, Drew. As you said, like everybody's waiting for the shoe to drop here. Like, when is Joe Sakic going to make a move? And, if they end up losing to Chicago, maybe that's the type of trade, the type of loss that, forces Sakic to make a trade. Like, they've been linked to, a few players on Vancouver, right? Like Brock Besser, Bo Horvat, but apparently Minnesota wants Brock Besser because, of course, he's from Minnesota. So it's going to be an interesting trade deadline for sure, because there hasn't been a trade in the NHL this year. Like a significant trade.
Yeah, a legitimate trade.
Yeah,
minor league fluff for minor league fluff doesn't count. Because, as everyone they talk about, the no salary cap space and everything else. I mean, I find that to be, you hear it ad nauseum and it's a factor, but it's also an excuse for, I think, a lot of these GMs to fall back on, and use as a reason for their inability to get something done when they really don't want to necessarily get anything done, at least until it gets closer to the trade deadline, because it's a lot easier and you keep your job for a lot longer when you talk about how close you came to doing something, as opposed to doing something and then having it blow up in your face.
Look,
And that's
I was going to say quickly. I don't expect Kevin Shoveldale to say anything of substance, really, regardless of when he's speaking. He spoke to Sarah 2 days ago. He didn't say anything of note, and he really said nothing of significance to any of the guys today. Or yesterday. It was like 32 minutes of what exactly? I'm not sure. I wrote in the morning papers. He could teach a masterclass in saying a lot, but not saying a lot. It's unbelievable how out of 32 minutes there was really nothing substantial said by him. He talked about wanting to sign, Dmitry Reshevsky and Nikita Chibrikov, and then he mentions the other guys who, are going to be free agents in a couple of years. But I don't know. Like the guys detailed it. I just didn't think that there was anything super noteworthy from it.
No, it was exactly what we've come to expect from him. Alrighty, Tough Duck hardest hitting comment on this edition of the Illegal Curve post game show. Mr. Ginsburg, who is getting a toque courtesy of our good friends at Tough Duck.
Yeah, we're going to give it to Doug Thorosky, who is a regular IC post game. And
Doug doesn't like me, but I'm willing to. I'm still willing to give him.
I don't think that's the case. Why would you say that?
Doug's hard on me. Doug's hard on me, but he's a good man. I'm sure he's a good man deep down. He's hard on me, but I can take it.
Okay, well, I don't think that's the case, Drew. Maybe he
hey, anybody who doesn't like Drew is a friend of mine.
I was going to say, I kind of like Doug more. The more you're talking about Doug not liking you, I kind of like him a little bit more, Drew. But before I read his comment, I went back in my Gmail, and I wanted to say this about Doug. I've never met Doug personally.
Oh, Drew, hold on. Drew, hold on. But just to give Doug an opportunity. Oh, wait, Drew, 1 second. Drew.
I'm doing it.
Stop doing it. Well, you're get out of here. You're the one who we're making fun of. So hold on a second. Doug does like you, Drew.
Okay, good. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate
the problem, that. And so
who wouldn't like Drew? How can you not like Drew? He's a great guy.
There's a long list of people who don't like him.
Yes, just to clarify, I think the problem with Drew is he thinks a lot of people in the chat don't like him. But Drew does have.
But Drew actually likes that, though. Drew likes when people don't
Drew
like
does.
him.
Drew like. But I will say,
I'm a very sensitive soul.
Drew does have some people who are big Drew fans, and I'm not just talking about his family. I'm talking about people in
family
his
doesn't count.
I'll say this much: if anybody has problems with Drew, come talk to the Jewish enforcer here. I'll take care of them. I've actually never been in a fight in my life, but I'm good friends with Drew, and he's a good guy. So just lay off if you have a problem with him. Okay, so I just wanted to mention this. I'm not talking about Doug because clearly Doug does like Drew. Doug, this is something really cool actually that Doug did last year. He was the only person that did this, but he said he loves the Tough Duck brand because he said he recently retired and he used to work on the railway. So I'm presumably it was for CN. Maybe Doug can let us know what his profession was. But Doug emailed me and I went back and I'm going to read it here. But Doug said, I would like to request sending this toque to an underprivileged person that is my friend. He has been subject to racial prejudice, abuse, and is a nice young man who suffers from a mental disorder. I'm not going to mention his name, but I thought that was extremely, extremely classy and extremely considerate that Doug, has a friend who, has a mental disorder and he wanted to give him the toque. So, Doug, you're a good man. That's all I wanted to say. So send me another email. I think I don't have your address because you gave it to that underprivileged friend of yours. So just wanted to mention that Doug is a good guy and I remember that. So way to go.
There you go. Good job. Good job, Doug. Winner of tonight's Tough Duck hardest hitting comment. And I do love all you people. You guys know that.
You people?
I mean, you people in the chat. The good folks in the chat is who I'm
talking about. What do you mean by you people?
Yeah, those words get people in trouble there, Drew. So you might want to be careful with you.
Are you talking about us River Heights people, Drew? Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. All you people who live in the Heights.
Rob Mahoney says, if he wins a jersey, I'm keeping it. I'm not a good guy. I like that, Rob.
That's very reasonable.
I can tell you, Rob, you didn't win tonight, but don't worry. We'll hopefully get you something.
There you go.
One of these days.
Unique code word for the Illegal Curve contest. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe you're new here, let me explain it to you. In the drop-down arrow of the show description, hit that drop-down arrow, you'll see the link to the contest page. There's a whole list of things you can do to earn entries, to get extra entries and extra ballots for the Illegal Curve merchandise contest. We give away merchandise belonging to the Winnipeg Jets after each and every post-game show. And at the end of the month, we also give you the opportunity to win tickets to an upcoming NHL game of your choosing. One of those things to do is enter in the unique code word that you can only find here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you can't find the link to the contest, it's also on our webpage on illegalcurve.com. Click on basically any article. You'll find a link to the contest. Now, Dave M., I know why this is the word for the Illegal Curve contest, and I'm pretty sure nobody would have guessed it because you're muted, Dave, so we can't hear what you're saying.
Hey, I was gonna say that I know I haven't without even looking.
Yeah.
Now I shouldn't say that 100% because if you pay attention, we've dropped this reference before. Ezzy and I have definitely talked about when we were at the 2016 draft.
And there's Buffalo. A Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club reference connection too.
There is a Rumors connection here as well.
Yes. Absolutely. So if you pay attention to the clues, you could have potentially guessed this, but then you might have known what we might have picked, but you might not have known necessarily who.
Should we do like an IC trivia night?
No. But it's a nice idea.
That's almost like the Ezzies. We could consider something like that. But anyways, so Ezzy and I were in Buffalo for the 2016 draft, had a nice little drive, saw the Blue Jays in Toronto, and then drove across the border. The best was, so Ezzy and I are getting to the border, and crossing the border with Ezzy is always a bit of an adventure. I'm a little concerned, of course. So as we're approaching it, for the record, it was the longest line getting into Buffalo. I was so aggravated. The funniest part is, so we get to the border, and we're speaking to the border security agent.
Didn't the guy want to talk about like Zach Bogosian or something?
All I want to talk about was the Zach Bogosian trade. And all I want to do is talk about the Winnipeg Jets and the Buffalo Sabres in the trade. Didn't ask us anything. We just told him we were going down for the draft. And sure enough, all he did was talk to us. And the best part was I had been sitting there complaining about all the dummies who were taking so long for this line to go. And then we're sitting there yapping with the security guy or the border agent.
The best was Dave was so worried. They're like, oh, I got Ginsburg in the car. They're going to bring up they're going to pull up his shady past. Well, I'm kidding. But then Dave got an illegalcurve.com reference in there. And
as soon as I did that,
he was loving it.
There was the time that Ezzy, myself, and Rabbi Leibel all tried to cross the border together on the way down to a football game
beards,
in Minneapolis. All with big beards. Let me tell you, we got they took a little while at the border before they were willing to clear us to get through there. In any event,
there were some touchy moments. We almost had to call the Canadian Embassy.
Yeah, so Ezzy and I were good. We chatted with him, and it was just funny because I was complaining about all the people taking forever, and then there I am yapping with the guy. We're like, well, yeah, Bogosian, and anyways.
But why is the code word?
Well,
why is the unique code word Super Troopers?
I'm getting into that. Just wait a second. So Ezzy and I were having. Don't you want to hear all about? Don't you want to hear all about our time in Buffalo?
I also want to hear about the onion that you tied to your belt. That was the style of the day. But it's already been an hour and 11 minutes. We got to get on with this thing.
Come on, Meow.
All right, fine. Anywho, Ezzy and I were. Ezzy, you can tell a story. You tell it.
Do you think I should tell that story, Meow?
Yes, Meow. Right now.
I can tell that, Meow.
Meow.
Okay, let's go, Meow. Okay. Well, basically, what's the arena called, or what was it called back then? KeyBank Arena. KeyBank Arena.
Yeah.
There you go. It
might have been First Niagara when we were there, actually, but I think it's.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. So we're walking up to the arena. It's a really nice arena. The Sabres in general. I saw Scotty Billick was talking with Buffalo. Like, first of all, I just wanted to say that the Sabres have great fans, and let's be honest, they've gone through some pretty crappy years. Anyway, so we're walking up, and there was like a little theater, comedy club. I'm not sure if it was a comedy club or just a theater, but it said tonight, Jay Chandrasekhar. And if anybody knows, and he's played Rumors, I'm not sure how many times he's played Rumors, but he's played Rumors.
I don't think Jay has, but Steve Lemmy and Kevin Heffernan, who I might be mispronouncing his last name, they're all part of the same comedy troupe.
He was Farva,
the Lizard.
Visual Lizard.
Yeah.
Yes, and they are the ones
who
did
Broken Lizard.
Troop.
Broken Lizard. Visual Lizard is an internet a website company in Winnipeg here. Sorry, I did some part-time work after Red River. Not Visual Liver.
Wait, Ezzy, maybe I better take this story back.
Okay, long story short, it's Jay Chandrasekhar from Super Troopers was playing right near the arena. Yeah. And then later on, when we had a little bit of a break, between, our duties with TSN 1290 back then, we went to a pizza place. And then I looked over and I was like, is that Jay Chandrasekhar? And then
I think Ezzy just stole my thunder. I'm pretty sure I'm the one who said, is that Jay?
You said that, sorry. And then we kind of, looked, he was across the street from this pizza place. And then, so we saw him. And he was
really
amazing
weird because he actually
came
over and he said,
that's why Dave picked Super Troopers.
And Ezzy, it was really weird because he came over and he goes, are you Dave and Ezzy from Illegal Curve Hockey?
Yeah. He's like, I love you guys.
So you guys got rid of Mandel yet? And we're like, no, not yet.
So that very long explanation
There you
is
go.
why is the connection between Buffalo and Super Troopers, and the reason why the illegal curve, the unique code word for the illegal curve merchandise contest is Super Troopers. All one word, all caps. It's Super Troopers for your unique code word. We have a merchandise winner, though, Dave, and hopefully that story will not take as long. But who is the winner of the illegal curve merchandise?
The winner was Bruce Harrison. So, Bruce Harrison, you are the merch winner from today's game. Congratulations to Bruce Harrison. I know Bruce is often retweeting us on Twitter. I don't know if I didn't see him in the chat, so I'm not sure if he's in the chat right now, but he does all the things you need to do, including leaving a comment on the podcast. And if you do that, you get points and you get a chance to win. So congrats to Bruce on the win. And again, as I saw in the chat, I am going to be doing a bunch of deliveries tomorrow. So folks in St. Vital, Southdale, Frosty, Winnipeg, you know what I'm talking about. Folks,
Dave, are you going to take the Lamborghini, or are you just going to take the Hummer?
No, I haven't decided yet which vehicle I'll take, as it might be. We'll see. We're not certain yet. And then, of course, there's going to be some in Elmwood, possibly some other spots around Winnipeg.
Home of the Giants.
We'll see. So
Elmwood
anyway,
Giants,
congrats to Bruce on the big win for the merch contest. I will be in contact with you. I'm seeing a lot of the winners who I still have deliveries to get to are chatting right now. In fact, I've seen like 5, although Jeffrey got his, so at least there's 1.
Why is it that when I cross over the Disraeli Bridge, it says Elmwood like that?
By the way, there's Bruce. I think I just saw Bruce in the chat. Well,
there's people chanting Bruce's name, so I'm not sure if it's
Bruce Almighty.
I will say I have 2 things about the chat that I want to say. First of all, everybody is very supportive. I notice that when people get wins, there's always a lot of support for the folks.
He is. BD Longshot.
Yes, that's it.
Boy, Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce is in the chat. I thought I saw him.
The chat is like our second family.
Well, I want to say, but the best part about the chat, and
you guys are family.
It's just the funniest part.
I love you
of the show is the fact that I mentioned a concert, and it was kind of like a throwaway comment, and of course with us it just became a sidebar for a few minutes. But the chat, I noticed, were like going through their list of best concerts, worst concerts for like 15 minutes after we finished that conversation. So love that element of things, and good times.
And the craziest thing is a lot of people are joining us on our OnlyFans page as well.
And that explains your computer troubles there, Mr. Ginsburg. So it's all coming full circle in tonight's Illegal Curve post-game show. Last word tonight goes to Buffalo Sabres head coach Don Granato, courtesy of our buddy Scott Billick and his Twitter feed. Quote, Hellbuck looked like a sumo wrestler with athleticism. He was good. And he certainly was, and he's largely the reason why the Winnipeg Jets won tonight by a 4-2 margin in upstate New York. Before we wrap up, I want to say a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show, the Saturday show, and the website a possibility. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club sold out tonight. All weekend sold out with Sugar Sammy as well. Be sure to get your tickets for the next upcoming comedian next week. rumorscomedyclub.com. Dr. Les Rikus and the team at Linden Market Dental Center are proud sponsors of these fine programs of ours. Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg support these fine businesses because of their
Frosty. Sorry, I like that Frosty got Spencer Sutton's in there. You snuck that in, Drew. You didn't see it.
I didn't because I'm reading the read. I'm not necessarily looking at the screen. I'm looking off to my second screen. But yes, that is well done. Frosty Winnipeg always good with the one-liners and with some quips to wrap up the show. Big thank you to all the sponsors. Big thanks to all of you for joining us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. You're going to do it again tomorrow night, 8:45. The Jets are going to be in Pittsburgh to meet the Penguins, and then you're going to come back Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We always appreciate your support. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, leave us some feedback on YouTube, leave us some feedback on iTunes, tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m.
is Spencer Sutton's Hot Tub in Sage Creek.
is the Illegal Curve post-game show. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow night. This has been the Illegal Curve post-game show.